We're going to be presenting on webhooks for AT. I thought I would give a quick preview of what we're talking about because it's actually something that's really useful. If you have anybody who's using an AT device, any kind of high-tech device, or if you're thinking about making something custom and you want to be very flexible in what you want it to activate, webhooks are a great way to go, and they're not really well known yet. So I thought I would go ahead and share a little bit about how they work. So let me share my screen. I am watching your comments, by the way. I'm trying a new layout, so if I'm not looking in the right direction, don't hold it against me. I still haven't kicked this cold. So webhooks are, it's probably a trademark at this point of if this then that, but there are other services that do the same thing. Basically what webhooks let you do is it lets you use a call to a website, to a URL, as a trigger for other events. Okay, so if those of you, I'm sure many of you are familiar with if this then that. If you're not, you should be. If you're in the AT world, you should definitely be familiar with if this then that. It's IFTTT.com. And if you look in here, there are thousands of different combinations you can use to control your home, to control your environment, to do communications, to send text messages and alerts, all kinds of things you can do with if this then that. And a lot of people know that you can use if this and that to like tie together things. Like if my location gets within a mile of my house, then turn on my air conditioner, things like that. But one of the problems is sometimes the thing that you want to be the trigger isn't necessarily another automation tool. So it's not like normally you'll set up an activity that says, here, let me go ahead and just create a new applet and kind of show you the process here. Create a new process. It says if this, then that. Let me get rid of my screen here. Okay. So it says if this, then that. That's the idea of the whole thing. I want to click this. And now it gives me all the things that I can monitor to act as a trigger. So if I look on Twitter, every time I tweet, it can do something. Or anytime somebody mentions me, or anytime I have a new follower, or somebody talks with a hashtag, any of those things can be a trigger that becomes the thing you're going to act on. If you look, you can watch for email, you can watch for Facebook messages, incoming phone calls. You can look for notes in Evernote. Things like blogs being posted, things in iOS, reminders coming up. All of these are things that you can use as a trigger. For example, a time and date trigger, or a new app, a new version of an app being available. All of these are things that you can actually activate. A train being late in Caltrain. All of those are triggers. The first half of if this then that. So we're going to go ahead and choose something really, really simple, like, I don't know, the Twitter one's fine. So if I tweet, if AT Makers tweets by me, don't include retweets and don't include replies, I can create a trigger. Now, every time AT Makers tweets, this trigger is going to run. What do I want that side of this to be? Maybe I want to... I don't know, send myself a phone call, which, why not? So this will call my phone. I've already enabled this action. Normally you'd have to actually have it call to enable the action. What do I want it to say? I want it to say whatever is in the text of the tweet, and then maybe when the tweet happened, and then it says by, or no, that's fine. I know it's by me. So it's going to call my phone, and it's going to read this message to me. It does take a minute or two for the Twitter thing to get activated. But let's go ahead and create this action. I have a new applet. It says if there's a new tweet by me, then call my phone. This is my cell phone number. I should probably block that out. Doesn't matter. If I hit finish, this is now active. Okay. So if this is on, and if I now go into Twitter, and I go into Twitter and I tweet anything. Hi, everyone watching on Facebook. This is the sample trigger tweet. Okay, so if I do that now, I'll turn my camera back on here. Maybe. There you go. If I send this tweet, that actually will act as a trigger, and in the near future, not immediate, but within a minute or two, my phone will ring. And so when it does, I'll hold this up to the mic and show you. But that's kind of how if this then that works. Hopefully lots of you are aware of if this then that. By the way, you can monitor the action up here in your activity log. It'll show you when these things happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So I don't know if it checks every minute or every 2 minutes, but very shortly I'll get a phone call. Some of the things are much quicker than that. Specifically, webhooks, which is what we're going to talk about next, are almost instantaneous. Okay? So while we wait for the phone to ring, and it will, I promise, let's go ahead and talk about when you have an event that you want to trigger something that isn't in that list. So it's not something that's already out there. It is something that you want to create. That's what webhooks are good for. And here's a good example of a webhook. Let me show you this way. You'll notice right here I have a link that just says fan on my toolbar. This is actually a webhook. This is an example of a webhook, and I'll show you kind of what it does. I have a fan. Oh, look, we have a phone call. All right, so we have a phone call, and I'll take it. And it says,
everyone watching on Facebook, this is the sample trigger tweet. April 7th, 2018 at 4:24 p.m. Message brought to you by IFTTT.
All right, so it sent me the tweet message that I was talking about. It took about 3 minutes for that to happen. That's really slow from IFTTT standards. I guess Twitter is just one of their slowest triggers. Let's talk about something we have more control over, like the one I was just going to show you, which is the webhook. So this link right here that says fan, when I actually trigger it, will make this fan kick on. Okay, so I'll click right down here. I'll click the fan, and you'll see almost immediately the fan kicks on. If I click it again, it'll turn it off. Okay, so it's about a 1 to 2 second delay instead of a 1 to 2 minute delay. So webhooks are the ability for you to create an almost instantaneous trigger into if this then that. You can use other services instead of if this then that, but it is certainly the most popular one. Now, why is this a big deal for AT? You can then, so what you're effectively doing is saying, if anybody goes to a particular URL in any browser, so I'll open up a browser, and I'm just going to paste this URL, and I'll walk you through how this works. If I hit enter, the fan's going to trigger on. It's on. If I send it again, it's off. Okay, so it's off again. So this link becomes the trigger for anything you want. That can be turn a fan on and off, change the temperature in a room, send a text message to your mom. Any environmental control that IFTTT can control, you can now control via a link. Now, this is a big deal. It's like one of the most enabling things out there, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. So let's talk about what we can do with this from an AT perspective. So let's go back into if this and that for a minute. And let's start another recipe, okay? And actually, let's recreate that recipe again. We're going to use the webhook service. So the webhook service is right here. You can search for it. And the way that it works, let me get rid of my face again. Sorry. So unlike most places, if this then that seems to use the bottom right corner. So if you look at the webhook service and go into the documentation, it tells you exactly how this works. So click documentation. To trigger an event, make a post or get web request. That means have a browser or something else fetch this URL. This key right here is specific to my account. I can regenerate it after this video so that you all don't trigger them. But then you can actually type in any name. So you can go in here, and if I want to, I can make this, let's make this Facebook demo is my key. If anybody calls this URL, that will be the trigger. Okay, that will be the trigger to activate anything I want. So I'm going to go ahead and take this URL right here and copy it. And now I'm going to go back into if this then that. Okay, I'll leave this up so that we can come back to it. And I'm going to create a new applet that says, let's create a new applet. If this part is going to be a webhook, and we're going to say if we receive a web request with the event name FB demo, which is what I called that, what do I want to happen? Well, anything I want. In this case, let's go ahead and make it turn on the fan, right? So that's a Wemo smart plug. I want to toggle it off or on, and it says which switch, and I only have one, the AT Makers fan. I'll create that action. And right now it says if the maker event FB demo comes in, then toggle the fan on or off. I want to receive a notification when this applet runs, and when I hit finish, that is now active. So what that means is if anybody calls this URL right here, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste it up here into my browser. I'll turn my video back on. So if I go ahead and activate this, in theory, that should kick on. And if I activate it again, that should kick off. There you go. Okay? So that's like the easiest automation in the world. You can now take that, make it a link on a browser, but it doesn't yet say how this is going to help so much in AT. Unless you do have somebody who has full access to their computer, you can just literally drag this link to the toolbar, click rename or edit. There you go, edit. We'll call this fan demo. And there you go. I now have a link on my toolbar that turns the fan on and off. Okay? The bigger thing is that lots of other things can send web requests other than web browsers. So the one I'm going to show you is kind of cool. It is New Voice. Now, lots of you know what New Voice is, but New Voice is the software that comes with the PRC accents. All the PRC devices have New Voice. It is, I believe, still their standard. They might have more than one layout, but I think this is the standard software that comes with all of their like accents and things like that. And what I want to show you is that you can actually go in here, and right here on the remotes page, I've actually created a toggle fan button. And if I click this, there's my fan. I click it again, and it'll turn it off. Okay, so from an environmental control standpoint, this is huge. I now can take without paying anybody any kind of integration or to buy a gateway or or any of the other integration things that we talk about doing. If it's supported by if this then that, I can just drop it onto PRC, Cough Drop. I don't know about Grid 3. I don't know about Saltillo or the other tools. But if they don't support this, they can, and we should be asking for it. But I do know that it works here in New Voice. In fact, I'll show you very quickly how to do it. One of the main reasons I'm making this stream is I want to show some of the folks that I'm going to be doing this with in July kind of how to do this. Let me shrink myself here for a second. There you go. So the way you do this, let me make this a little bigger, is if I want to set up a new button that calls our new event that has that URL we talked about, I need to install a piece of software called wget. This is just for the PC-based stuff. What wget is basically it will call a URL. It will invoke a web page without opening a browser. There are other ways to do this from Windows. There are built-in tools. They're not quite as elegant. I hate the word elegant. I just said that earlier today. But they're not quite as clean. But if you just do a search for wget Windows download, you will come across how to get wget for Windows. And there's a download, and you install it. Once you have it as something on your computer, you can then just call wget and the URL, and it will trigger that. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. And if you look carefully in, let's say this button right here, we'll look at the toggle fan button. If we look at the function that's in here, it's going to, let me go all the way back to the beginning. Whoops. All right, I got to hold down. I'm not sure why I have to hold down the mouse or the left button to make this work. But if you look carefully at what this is doing, it's using run program, which is the name of the command in New Voice. And then it's going to the actual program location for wget. I probably didn't have to do that full location, but it's not a bad idea. I'll write up a guide on how to do this. This -O- is optional, but what it basically does is it says take the output of the command and throw it away. And then here you've just got the entire URL that we have. And let's go ahead and put this on the Facebook test one, like this, FB test, or it's FB demo. I'll probably get it wrong. That's exactly the kind of mistake I'd make. So it is FB demo. Okay, let's get that right. FB demo. The key doesn't change between these, and that's it. I hit OK. And you'll see here I've already got this set up to look like a fan. I'll hit OK. At this point, when I hit toggle fan, you'll see that little flash that popped up, and the fan went on, and it popped up again. Now, if this is in full screen mode, like it usually is, you won't see that little command window pop up. But even if it did, it is not a big deal for your user to see a little black box pop up and go away. I will tell you that on the actual Accent devices, you don't see it at all. This is a really powerful tool. It lets you take anything in the thousands of different things that if this then that can control and assign it to any button on your device. I worked with Brian Whitmer to make sure that we support this, that they support this very well in Cough Drop. So it works perfectly from Cough Drop. And that is the other thing I will demonstrate at the one in July is those two, the Accent and the Cough Drop. But it also means that you can do, another thing that we've used this for, is you can actually make a device whose only activation will send a web request that then triggers things. Christine Kramlich saying, is this what Kylie is using for her door opener? Sort of. It is using a webhook. It is using a webhook that doesn't go through if this then that to open the door opener. It's kind of a more advanced option. It's one where you actually have to make the local device that is listening for requests, and that is exactly how we made the door opener work. But what's nice about this is it works with anything. You don't have to make the target device. You can use any of the actions that are in if this then that to be able to activate them. So I wanted to make sure I shared this with you guys. If you've got questions about this, post them below. I'd love to get some questions about this before we put together the presentation. I'd love to have a few more people using this between now and then so we have a little bit more feedback. Maybe other devices. If you're using a Saltillo or if you're using a Tobii and you get this to work or you don't, give us some feedback on that. If you want some help with that, let me know as well. And so hi, Christine. I thank you for the comment. If there's any other questions while I'm here, go ahead and type them in. Otherwise, I'm going to close this up. This is a lingering cough that is just, like, I feel fine, but I can't get the cough to go away. I got to figure that out. But I don't see any other questions. So I hope you guys have a great Saturday. And Jeremy, I hope this shows how this works and what I'm going to be showing off on my part of the demo at ASTAP. If anybody's in Arizona in July, come see us. And as always, have fun. Bye.